For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a pitching video about how you're going to pitch your Outdoor Revolution Cayman Air T3 driveway awning. So basically we'll go through the whole procedure of how it's going to go up and then also down as well. So we'll start by just getting the awning out of the bag itself. So that's quite crucial. Obviously it's an important part of it. So what we'll do is sort of, ideally you can look to obviously have put a footprint down first as an optional extra. That's to keep the awning kind of clean and dry and not have to worry about sort of having the ground sheet, which is obviously sewn in direct contact to the ground itself. But for the sake of a pitching video, I'm literally going to pitch it, pack it away straight away, so I'm not too worried, and the grass is nice and dry. So first and foremost, we want to just obviously find ourselves where the tunnel section is and where the cader is. So we're just going to spread it out a little bit just to get our bearings. Here we are. So now, depending on how you're looking to connect it to the vehicle, you can either throw straps over the top of it. For me, I was going to go directly into the wind out itself. Preferably, if you want a driveway, I'd recommend using a driveway fixing kit. But again, for the purposes of the video, I'm just going to kind of feed it directly on. So just going to connect it nice and neatly onto the van itself. Like I said, if you've got a second pair of hands, it does make life a little bit easier on that front, but being as it's just me, we can more than happily cope. So it's just going to kind of try to move kind of the weight of the awning away. It's one of those things you find it's a bit harder to feed directly onto the rail. So now we're kind of on the rail, and we'll take it all the way to the back. The key thing is positioning it in a way that you can open the door fully within the tunnel section. So it's crucially, it's obviously where that front point tends to kind of start. So you can see the doors kind of here. So I'm just going to bring myself back a little bit, just so the top is in line with that front part of the door, and this part will happily kind of just splay out. So now we've kind of got our positioning done, I just want to peg it down just to make sure I'm in the right location. So the best way to look at it, I sort of say, is you almost look at it like two kind of rectangular boxes. So you start a pegging point against the vehicle. You want to go underneath the vehicle a little bit just to make sure you get as tight as a fit as you possibly can. This one, it's not a bad thing going too far underneath, because what you find is that you can always bring it back a bit further to yourself. I am just going to put a provisional pegging point in here just to kind of get the distance there or thereawabouts. We'll then do the back section. Typically what you tend to find is that there's a slight tunnel, so the point it obviously fixed onto the awning is normally a little bit wider than where it attaches to the main body, so you will see it kind of funnel in. So again, we'll just go underneath the vehicle a little bit just to kind of get a nicer and tighter fit. Perfect job. Now, what we'll do at this point here is just almost peg directly the opposite side. So we've almost pegged on that one corner. This is the first kind of what I want to call, our first kind of rectangle. So again, we'll kind of peg directly at this point here, trying to keep this pegging point all in line as such. It's just to get our positioning to start with, and then again we'll do the same. Coincidentally, it kind of seems to be, there you go, almost at the bottom of the sort of first and last beams. So again, we're just going to go approximately kind of peg that there, just to give a little bit of shape. So really we'll get our distance away from the vehicle itself. So now we can done that. The next point of call is we want to kind of do the next rectangle, which is the front and the back. So almost positioning alongside. So we've worked that way, now we're going to work that way. So again, 4 pegging points is what you want. making sure the door is nice and sealed up. This is where sometimes you might need to move this first pegging point out of the way a little bit just to get your distance and lining where it needs to be. So we'll go through there. So we'll approximately put that in there. We'll then tension against it on this side. So again, same points at the front. These can always be easily tweaked as you kind of go. So we want to get that again dead square on that side, pull against it and pop pegs in. So now we'll do the front and the back. What we may do is just undo one pegging point for the time being, just so we can get that positioning as it should be. It does have a tendency to kind of almost pull out too far sometimes. There you go. Again, we'll kind of pull against it, like so. And then peg this back corner as well. So from this point here, we'll have our base, our structure pretty much on the money. So it means we can actually full on inflate the whole awning itself. Again, we might just peg this out a little bit more, just to give a bit more, again, so we can tweak at the end of the day, but that's what I'll do next. Again, so it's just approximate for the time being. So now we've done that, what we can then do is grab our manual pump that comes supplied as standard with it. Personally, I like to start with kind of the mill beam, just because I feel it distributes the air throughout the whole awning. Most important thing you do before you do anything is make sure you press the button so the spring is fully out. The reason for this is that it actually puts the air, basically the valve on close. So once you kind of finish pumping, what you find is actually that when you also undo it, the air actually doesn't come flying out at you. So what you might find is it needs a little bit of help just getting the last bit of it up. You can go to full pressure on all of the beams. Again, the key thing is once you get some air into it, that's when obviously it's then going to kind of come up from that point of view. Once it's physically kind of inflated up into place, that's when we can kind of tinker with it and just get it looking a little bit sharper. Another jubbly. How'd you get out of there? Daft dog. So inflated. And we just do the last back beam. Again, make sure we press the spring in so it all comes all sealed. Now on to the last beam. So joints obviously taken out first, you haven't got to worry about feeding any poles in. If it's windy or stormy, that you can do this quite happily within the main kind of parameter of the awning itself. Lovely job. Good. So from here we can actually just go around it, just make sure all of the beams are kind of where they need to be. We're sitting upright, so it's looking about right. You almost kind of, in a certain way, almost just kind of peg everything as you kind of go. So what we'll do actually is we're going to move this out a little bit in terms of from there. So I can just go back a little bit there. That's it. Lovely. Front's looking pretty sharp, so I think we're okay on that front. So what we're, if it is kind of windy weather, what you can do obviously is just peg your main kind of points to make sure that's all looking okay. Personally, I like to do the front and the back, just so we're getting the proper amount of tension across the front and the back of it. Preferably, if you can, try and extend these guide points kind of as long as you can go. Just means you get a bit more stability on that side of things. And we'll just kind of tweak it as we go. That point's looking pretty darn good. And then we'll do the back in the same way. Again, just making sure we've got a good amount of tension in that roof section so it sits properly. And again, just tweak it a little bit as we need to, just to get that looking as it should. And then we'll just do the base set again, just kind of nicely, neatly pulling it out, not kind of overstretching it at all, but just getting it so it sits about right in each time. And then we can do any additional guide points as well. That helps to kind of give it its overall retaining shape. Now, we've got a little bit of adjustment in the top here, so just want to kind of tweak it, make sure it's sitting really quite nice and sharply. And we can then sort of do the peg. I would recommend cross-pegging the doorways, so that way you pull from one side directly to another, means that the zips are then kind of almost, each side of the zip's being pulled together. Just makes life a lot easier on the whole. I mean, you could in theory double peg points if need be, but I don't think it's a bit of an overkill. I'd always recommend inserting a peg at about a 45-degree angle into the tent, just to kind of give it a bit of some braces and try and guy and peg almost directly in line with the awning. But you can see from the roof fabric it is kind of getting any distortion or it's looking a certain way. That's really a true kind of test of how it kind of sits on that side of things. But I think we're looking pretty good here. Quite happy with actually how it looks. And there we go, all good. So we've set it up, we're all good to go. About some braces. That's how you're going to kind of picture sort of your T3. What we'll do is we'll move on to packing it away. And you always, if need be, check out our little review video we've done separately on this as well. But let's switch on to getting it down and back into that bag with ease. So now we'll move on to packing away the T3, and we'll kind of do the same sort of thing in reverse really. So what we'll do is we'll start by removing all the guide points, and then essentially just leave the main 4 pegging points in place, either the front 2 and the back 2. So it doesn't really matter kind of what order you do it in. I'd recommend if there's a wind, kind of maybe leaving certain of the guide ropes in place where the wind is coming from, just to give a bit more bounce and braces, kind of protection and obviously stability to the awning itself. If you've got a fixing kit and things like that, I would probably recommend detaching it directly from the awning itself, because what that's essentially going to do is mean you're just dealing with a standalone tent. Mainly because I've gone directly into the rail, I haven't got such a luxury. So instead we'll just kind of deflate it and then remove it off afterwards, after that point. So, but like I said, just going to work our way around, taking all of the pegs out, just leaving the main 4 corners, i.e. the back 2 where the ground sheet's sewn in, either here and here. And then from here, what I've done is actually left the doors kind of about 2/3 open. It's only zipped up about 1/3. The reason I've done that is just because what I want is the air to escape, not necessarily get trapped. Certainly when the ground sheet's obviously sewn in, that's more imperative. So what we'll do now is deflate it from the back towards the front. This actually, as the air comes out, it's going to force all that sort of internal air out towards the front door. Like I said, by leaving the doors open, that allows the air to quite nice and neatly pass through. Just by pressing the spring button in, that's when you obviously get the air itself come out. And then we'll just take the last few pegging points off quite nice and neatly now, if I don't get myself hooked. And so now we've deflated it, what I want to do is just undo the remaining pegging points. Like I said, this is where if you had a fixing kit, it would actually help you with the packing section as well. And then we'll just undo the last 4 pegging points, slide it off the rail. So we can just feed that off. Now what I want to do is kind of almost start with where the ground sheets physically fold sort of sewn in, just because that's obviously gives me a nice sort of strong base to fold onto. So we're just going to spread this back out a little bit. So what we'll then do is we'll flip the tunnel section back onto itself. And then from there, once the frisbee's out of the way, we'll then fold the front canopy directly on itself as well. Again, we're just trying to get to that area where the ground sheet's sewn in. Crucial thing, because all of the valves are located on the far side, what we want to do is we'll fold it in about a bag, a sort of pump size width, from one side over to the other. So again, we'll work our way towards the valves. Each fold, I recommend just giving it a little bit of a press down. Okay, it's just helping for any internal air that's left in there to escape. First, I like to do it from towards the back, toward the front, because again, what you're almost doing is pushing all of that internal air towards that front door, which we've left open. And you see all the extra air just being thrusted out there as well. Yeah, good. We'll grab the bag. Now I like to kind of lay the bag open at the base of the awning, almost tuck it underneath a little bit as well. If you've got a little tie to just sort of see off, it makes life a little bit easier. Fold that last little section in. And then we're going to roll it from the back, obviously where it's sealed, to that front door again. Again, thus pushing any excess air directly out the front. Key thing is to get a really tight start, because the tighter you go, the better. If you've got a big bulge at the start, you're just going to make it worse by the end of it. So you see all the air being pressed out there. Sometimes you need to sort of sit on it a little bit just to kind of help with that external air. And because we've rolled it directly on the bag, we can then just tuck the remainder of it in. Very gently. If need be, you can use the compression part itself. I've caught it there, that's why it's not going in. Let's do it both sides. There we go. Perfect. We'll use that strap just to compress it a little bit. So yeah, the joys of it, like I said, goes up easily, goes away quite nice and easy as well. Just last little bit of zip up. One thing I would recommend is, like I said, having a footprint just to make life a little bit easier. One thing, because you'll find, is because of the nature of having that sewn in ground sheet, love showing. It just makes life a bit easier when you've got something clean and dry. You haven't got to worry about folding it up. And then you've got a separate ground sheet you can then take to the nearest hose pipe, wash it off, and you're good to go, really. But that's kind of how you're going to sort of pack away the T3. So we've done a separate review video talking about the in-depth features of everything you need to know about it. But I think on the whole, connected to the van, everything like that works really nicely. If you want more information, check the link below this video. It'll take you straight through to our website. We've got more information on things like pack sizes, floor dimensions, individual features as well. Plus, we've got our review video located there as well in a nice, easy place. But hopefully it's been helpful, and we look forward to seeing you again soon in our next Attwoolls Outdoors video review.